And y'all go to YouTube, put in KT the Artistry. I've been doing a lot of videos lately, and a lot of this stuff I'm talking about, I got good 30-minute breakdowns on a lot of this stuff, so you could know. But this is my contact information, Instagram and YouTube, Kamani Tate on Facebook, and then that's the email address right there. Y'all can reach me.
You're watching Project Forward. Go to projectforward.tv and become a member today, and discover the world we created to support healthy creativity.
An entrepreneur, I'm going to run through some concepts. Are you guys entrepreneurs at all? A little bit? Entrepreneurs, sir? You obviously, you're massaging for money. And
these are free.
That's not what I know. Those are free.
Right here.
So you understand, you're going to understand some of the stuff I'm saying on a deep level. We've done it, it's kind of basic. It's a lot of fun. And then, are you an entrepreneur a little bit? You are? So what do you do?
I make jewelry and medicines.
You make jewelry?
And medicine.
And medicine. That's so
Thank
cool.
you.
And this is fun. So this is speed workshop. Every Monday I do a workshop in San Antonio, and I just work with different entrepreneurs. There's so many cool entrepreneurship communities. I feel like some of them probably do what we're doing, but the way that I do it, with people that I'm collaborating, is we meet up and then we do this thing called speed. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction to that with Franque. She's going to help me out, and then she's going to take a break, sit down, and then I'm going to go into a new aspect of speed, which is brand new, which is going to transform your collaborative. Hold on, I'm not trying to transform anything, but it's some really good ideas on how to collaborate as an entrepreneur, which is an amazing just game changer once you start collaborating with different people and really embedding yourself in communities and stuff like that. But this first part is just the basic stuff for you as an entrepreneur, how you interact with getting yourself from starting with an idea of yourself as an entrepreneur, and then starting whatever your thing is, and then just having like a cool idea about how to keep moving until you get to the ultimate goal, which might be different for you, but to have a brand that's established globally, right? That makes sense. Let's get started. Woo! HWC 27. If you taking these selfies around these premises and you hashtag them HWC 2017, then be your friend for life. We'll be really close. Okay. So this is what I go through, and these numbers, speed defines your universe. So I think about speed as your ability to change your universe in so many different ways. Because the way you move dictates how people are going to interact with you, how you're going to interact with people, and how much stuff you can get out there, and how many people you'll be able to communicate that. And I kind of broke that idea up into 4 different ways.
Okay, so then speed is like how fast you can execute these concepts, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, speed?
Yeah, and I'm a huge physics lover, and so I think about speed in like its very literal way. You know, like when you're driving through a place, what is the difference in speed? It means that you're going over a greater amount of time, and then you're putting out.
Okay. So then it's like content for days.
The content is the space.
The number of content is the content for whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting it out
Sort
there.
of, yeah. And this is all the different aspects. So I think of the first level, and I'm trying to go as fast as possible, but I think of the first level as when, and not member, just think about that as an entrepreneur, because I didn't want to edit this that much. But for an entrepreneur, I think your first basic thing, when you're first starting, you should be investing about $20 a month into what you're doing. Just on that basic level. In different ways, you make your first, and this is a good way not to overinvest also. And because overinvestment is a burden that can slow you down. Because now you've overinvested, you have 600 of the pink bunnies, because you thought the next rage was going to be pink bunnies, and you overthought yourself into a hole. And now you are a pink bunny seller, instead of being what you really were, which was an entrepreneur who thinks of products that people want to buy that are cute. So you can play it around a little bit more. So that $20 might be a really cheap prototype. Whatever it is, I think in this area you're doing a lot of just getting your, and this is for a media focused entrepreneur too. There's different ways to go about it. And you can kind of take the ideas and put it into whatever kind of entrepreneur you're doing. This is a way to use media to boost boost your growth. Social media videos and everything like that. You should be spending about $20 a month in this first stage, and then you move into your main sources of equity at this point. That's what you're really focusing on, is having a cool social media, having a nice blog, maybe you bought a little template, whatever. Don't spend too much. I don't think your first website should be your $3,500 website. It's not a good look. You don't get, the $500 haircut when you're going to an interview or something like that. You don't know. You couldn't do that every single time. And then your blog really nicely set up through YouTube, and then have a basic version of your website using Tumblr or something like that. How does this map to your experiences?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely over-invested on my first website. It was like a $200 investment. And I could have used Weebly or Wix and done it way cheaper. So I have 4 websites that I'm curating now, and that's not even the best looking of my websites. But it was my first one. It was my first experience. I was just excited. I was really excited.
It's like a week, like solid.
And
That was like $200 for the entire year.
it was.
I think that's safe, because I think this is based off of a month. So you should have a $20 a month website. If your first big piece of brand media equity is a Squarespace site or a Weebly site, that's a good level of investment. Don't do anything else.
Now the website you can furnish with cheaper. Like
Yeah,
$8 way cheaper. So you don't have to go that route. But I was on the internet and different sites.
social media and blogging.
Straightforward.
No, that was really good. I was just
Felt like a clean street.
Social media.
Yeah.
And it's, you got me on
Imagine
social media.
how
I wasn't
this
really on
one
it.
here,
And,
straight from
you are
straight
the
up.
entrepreneur, not the entrepreneur. And now, when I love the sharing aspect, and you can put each other out and we can all go somewhere else together, right? Competition really isn't about not supporting someone. So it's giving on reposting, sharing, what other people are doing, right? And I kind of get into it. Someone who has a Facebook professional page. Because now you have all your baby pictures and all of your personal stuff. I'm trying to promote you, and you don't have a professional page.
And I'm okay with people posting their personal stuff. If you want to go eat ice cream, this gives people context about your life and stuff like that. But it's good to have a Facebook page just as, because if I'm tagging something, I don't really want to tag your personal page. And then on my personal page, I have a bunch of things. Because people try to tag me or whatever they're doing. Like, oh, I'm selling Spurs jerseys. I'm like, I'm not involved in your Spurs jersey sales scheme. Don't tag me. So it's hard to tag my personal page. And it's just different. It's good to have a personal page. So that was good. Now I'm just going to move through kind of these next things really fast. I just want to touch on this level, on all of them. And if you're more interested, I have these just up on project4.tv. And you can just download them and look at them all together. But I want to run through some of these other ones. So I think you consider yourself a creator when whatever it is that you're investing the $20 a month in, these are just rough values, it starts making you about $200 a month. I think that's a really good place to be. And then at that level, you're going to be doing, how you're going to be doing that, you're going to be creating events, whether there's sales events or a quick show, something like that, host a workshop, create a project of some sort and so on. Something that's engaging your ability to be an entrepreneur in some sort of way. And then just to run through it, then I think you're at the point where you can start investing at $400 a month. And then you'll be doing this by publishing, making merchandise, making products, getting your stuff onto different pages, syndication, paying for Facebook ads, and you start leveling up your investment. And then at the partner thing, when you really consider yourself ready to take on partners, I think it should be when it's the business is saying your own life, you're making about $4,000. How are you doing this? You're doing a lot of gigs, you have clients, and you're a legally established business at this point. You're making cash money. So the second part of speed that I got down is this gets a little bit more into the social media and then the engaging part, right? At the very basic level, entrepreneurs should be doing lots of social tagging. You should be commenting on a crap ton of people's posts who are in your field, especially if they live around you. Commenting, oh, that was really cool. I love what you did there. That was dope. They're going to see your stuff. You're building a relationship. It's super easy. It's free. We're on there anyway. But usually we're commenting on Uncle Greg's crops or something like that. But we can use that time to comment on stuff that's part of our self-actualized self. And then we can volunteer. I think you have, on that level, how does that play with your experience?
It's really huge. So I tried to allow for me, if branding is important, and that's part of my brand is weird places. Which is strange, but it's very true. We have to kind of look out for it, like, okay, how can we act like this?
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And then volunteering, I know you actually, that's a huge way to get involved in it.
Absolutely. You know, I feel like, well, I didn't think that we can live in a society that we have with the other house. I don't want to be preachy, but I'm just doing it because I look outside and there's a bunch of mess going on and I gotta take an hour a week to be in this part of the solution.
And it helps you match your entrepreneurship to who you are as a human being, which is more than just that, it's caring. It's such a basic way of getting involved, and it might help your product. Maybe you would have sold more of the fluffy pink elephant. She didn't sell fluffy pink elephants, just to continue with that metaphor. But maybe you would have sold more of it if you had started volunteering at some things and you had gotten involved in some sort of breast cancer thing, and then it would have just clicked. And you would have got this. So it's a good thing to know your community, because we're not making products or business for ourselves, it's for
that the magic happens outside of your house. So I like to say because you get outside your house and you have these conversations that are so dynamic, it's so amazing. People, it allows you to create content as you share what you're doing, it comes to your site, see you outside, gives ability, and then you're just allows you to be open and present with the world, interacting with the world, and allows your products to interact with the world. Also,
and it's very true. And okay, so just to continue with what we did in the first one, so then you consider you're a creator when you're getting 50 engagements a week, and how would you be getting this? Through your audience, which you should know on Facebook, your blog, whatever, that's your audience. Your collaborators will be starting to engage with your stuff, people that you're teaming up with, they're going to look at your stuff. And then you have members, which is engaged people, like customers, people who regularly engage with your product in different ways. And so that'll start building up your 50 engagements a week, and now I think you're ready to start seeking that 270 engagements a week through features at other people's events, utilizing influencers, letting them get on your products and stuff like that, which is just different people. All these words are just different words for people that you're engaging with, different methods of engaging with. And then,
like when people are tagging you, yeah, like people, what is it, 270 engagements a week? If I look lost, I'm not sure if anybody else get lost. I got a little bit lost because I'm looking at 270 and I'm like, a really big number. So,
yeah.
like, what does that look like visually?
So let's say you're, and this is just a month. So this could be your people who are watching your Facebook videos.
Oh.
So it's a blend of people who are aware that you exist as an entrepreneur.
Total like your views and your likes.
And influencers are a really great way. Yeah, that you're using individuals though. So unique views, you could say. And that's where we do the website.
270 people are engaging with your stuff.
If it was like the massage thing, I think being in an event where you have about 20 people and you get to talk to, well, let's say you get to talk to 3 people that day, boom, that's an extra 3 for that day. So you're starting to find more ways to become more visible at that stage. Yeah.
270 engagement is blowing my mind. It's kind of big. So that looks like 270 people.
At this point, you're also investing about $400 a month.
Like individuals who are like close to your stuff, different people, and then it involves your presence. So I'm not sure how to
So it's just,
get 270.
yeah, so it's just people that you're engaging with. If you have that many people on your Instagram, or it's that many, but this is a way to get there. So for him, he's a feature at this event, for example, right? And so he gets to meet 5 people here today. Hopefully he has some way of, taking some of those 5 people. He has his cards, that's a really great way. They can call him, or he gets 5 new followers on Instagram, or he just talks to 5 people who now know that there's a way to get them massages. And that girl, it's like she got your number, so that might even be a lot. So sometimes this, I'm sure.
Well, I got one of those already.
Okay. One white. That's all you need. Just bring another column. This is one white column. So it can be difficult, but influencers are a really good way. Think about it as 270 additional people. You should have a strategy on that. So if that's where you need to lean in marketing, maybe you can pay an influencer like who has like 30,000 followers. You can give them $150 off to do a post. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's more, depending on how you there. Yeah. And they'll put their posts on there, and you might production value to your stuff.
That's what I was trying to see if I can
Will
get a
help.
spot in here.
Features are great. That's my favorite events. I think events are the way to go. And then as partner, when you're really thinking about how to get a lot of engagement and a lot more quality engagement, you have like a list of customers, you have a business model, you know how people will close.
Is there
And you can start seeking investment, which is a great form of engagement.
It'll help us out.
All right, this is the last one. When I talk about speed, how it changes your orbit a little bit. So, on the basic level, when I think about orbit, it's about how wide your reach is and what level of community you're at. I kind of have a little strategy on this too. And it's all different when you apply it to your own business. Start at the city level, join groups, regular participation, and then volunteer again, and then using hashtags is a really good way to feel out the city. And this for me is just about the size of your market, and then the size of your reach, like how big are you at that time. Because depending on your product, the size of the area that you're selling to more. So it's a way to just think about it and level up through media and the people you're attracting to see your stuff. For you, you're kind of in the creator. And then the next part of it, I have satellite, which is when you start thinking about how you're broadcasting. YouTube and getting on different radio and things like that. Attending conventions. And this is where you should be receiving some of these offers, or at least people who value at this level. Start doing some seminars and then really focusing on your branding and those different elements. And yes, and then my favorite part on this is for idea parties, when you're ready, you're at that other level when you want to start going out into the country more. I think starting to do things like tours, whatever your product is, start visiting different cities with your products and stuff like that. So you can get different eyeballs, you can start engaging with different people, realize what they like in different cities. Just let people know that you're showing up. And you'll still be doing all these other things in different cities. And then later on, what is your vision? Start thinking about national sponsors, retail locations, and things like that, so that you are ready to expand that orbit. But yeah, that's really fun. If you like it, check it out. I'll be able to go more into detail. Well, you'll be able to dive into it, and then email me if you have any questions. You'll probably see that, if you ask me a really good question, I end up changing a whole line in there, because I'll be like, oh yeah, that dude is right. And so I'm constantly changing this stuff all the time.
I have no curiosity as to where people are at. And this is something to consider yourself in the creator stage, where you're kind of leading the city. Are you a pioneer? Can you go a little bit? Are you the grounding stage? What stage would I say you guys are at?
I'd have to say earlier in the first reading.
That's cool. I mean, that means that you're in that stage. You're still looking, you came to this, so you're still looking for those group regular participation. You're out here, so you're doing the grounding stuff. And I'm sure you have some things, volunteer, that you do maybe, little things that you show up for friends and you help them out. So you're in that stage, it's just thinking about it oh, this is intentionally what I'm doing, and it's making me very involved in this city. So that's cool. It's just for when they come, and you're like, anyway, yes. So I think you're already doing it. And I'm sure you have a website and things like that.
I can have a website.
Well, it's good to join a group. I think that's always great.
What part of the website, the going to events, joining the voluntary hashtags, what part of all that do you think is the most valuable, brings you the most visibility, the most culture?
Joining groups, definitely.
Joining groups? Yeah.
Where do you find groups to join?
Where do I find groups to join? In the activist community.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's how you know Catherine, right?
Excuse me?
I said that's how you know Catherine? Catherine? Okay, you don't know. Okay.
No, this is, I guess you're talking about someone who runs
Yeah,
this space.
yeah.
This is my first time to this
Oh,
space.
wow. Okay.
So, yeah, it is a new,
Very cool.
yes.
Very cool. Yeah. Catherine is great.
Catherine's fantastic. Definitely strong in that community. She's someone that I just met. I'm sure that I don't want to add all fires, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I know her one to one. She's a great
I'd love to connect. Just see.
Sure. But actually, we got to a really cool place on the collaboration. So I think I'm going to jump into that so I can round up my workshop, and that way, thank you so much. Thank you, Michele. She's super awesome. She's a writer. She runs Black Writers in San Antonio.
She's a writer. We have a sign-up sheet. We have lots of events and lots of support from the community.
Oh!
Let's go.
Yeah.
Kinyo.
She's my prototype for almost everything. She's always there on my list. Of course. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go into this other little piece, which I think you guys are gonna like. I've been stewing on this for a second, and this is the atmosphere of a collective. And the collective is your group of collaborations. How do you do a lot more with collaborations? And this is where I get a little, I use some of my spiritual wisdoms. I'm gonna go ahead and see how I can do this. So this, I'm going to have this up on the website too. This will be, I think, a really useful tool. I'm going to start using this. It's really hard when you're in the midst of being an entrepreneur, at least for me. I overthink things. And it's really hard to get to the stage where you can collaborate comfortably. You know, that's one of the biggest, most difficult things. It's like, how do I know, what I can provide? And collaborate with someone, they provide something you're not sure. It's not always, linking up. You're like, oh, this isn't what I expected. You don't even know if you're ready to even talk to anyone else and collaborate with them. So it can be really hard. So I made this little cool tool that I think is very useful for just thinking about yourself and understanding the help that you need, the place that you need to be mentally okay. That mental health structure that's okay for you to say, yeah, I can jump in at this level. These are the things that I need to have so that I can feel like I can go to this full collaboration level with you and there's no strange friction. And you'll see the collaboration is at the bottom because I think there's lots of things that happen before collaboration. Actually, it should be the other way around. And then eventually I'm gonna put it's gonna be like a globe, and this is gonna be, oh no, then it should be like this. This will be like space up here, and this will be like the planet. The goal is to be on that collective, that planet of collaboration where you feel like the world to you is a wonderful garden, ready for you to collaborate with lots of people. Right now, lots of us are in space. We're floating around in entrepreneurship limbo. We don't really know anyone else who's doing. We're like comets. We fly through different stuff. We don't know what's happening. It's crazy out there. There's huge suns that we, okay, we'll go too far on the metaphor. But this is a really cool collaboration technique. So the first part that I have is your foundation, which I also think of just like your regular health, how you feel. If you're too busy, if you haven't slept, you haven't eaten, you have to ask yourself, am I even ready? On the basic level. And you see here, this is how you get back to the foundation, this is how you get further to collaboration. So if you ask yourself the I'm not ready question, then you need to take a break, and just figure out what that means for you. Do you have space in your life? It's the most basic part. Maybe you don't have space. What do you need to make room for? Maybe you need a little bit more money. So maybe it's first you figure out a different way to do your job or something like that. Because if you can't do that, collaboration isn't even really a thought. Every collaboration you get into is going to be extremely stressful for you. So you have to build a way to find that, at least balance it for yourself internally so you feel good about it. And then if you're ready, boom, then you jump to the work stage. And then I think about this as language. When you just first start talking to someone in a collaboration and you're trying to figure stuff out, and you ask yourself, for what we're trying to do for this work, am I available? It's a good question just to ask yourself, am I available for this thing, this type of work at all? Do I have it? And if you're not, I think then you should kind of go back to the other level, use the rest, use the listening. If you're not able to do it, just think about am I available? If the answer is no, keep listening and keep doing the other stuff that you're doing. But if you are, then you can start putting stuff into a plan. And that's great. And that will get you to the next step, which is your structure. And after you put a plan together, you're going to ask yourself the sustainability questions. How is this going to work? This is the plan. Then you obviously you're going to start thinking about your strategy, which is your budget, how you're going to communicate, and all of these different things. If you feel like you're prepared enough with your plan that you can move on to that next level. If not, then maybe you need a little bit more patience. Maybe you need to figure out how. You can keep asking yourself, oh, I'm not prepared yet. Let me keep asking myself what it really takes to do this. Let me keep looking around, figuring out for the plan that we have, what do I need to know? Maybe it's going to school and learning a little bit more. Maybe it's getting yourself established as a brand so that you can understand a little bit more how you fit into that thing. Other ways to think about whether or not you're prepared. Look at other people who are doing what you're doing and you can say, oh, you know, I think that compared to them, I understand what they're trying to do, and it'll give you an idea of your brand and your thing. So that's the kind of time just to observe. And that's what that patience is. Patience is a really great way for you to say, okay, let me see what's going on. Let me really look at the universe and take a look at it. And then you're ready to start working on your strategy. Start building a strategy for how you guys can work together, how your brand fits into their brand. And the next level I have is really about the self and really understanding for yourself. Do you believe in what you're about to do? And I think if you don't have the belief yet, the good way to do that is through confidence. And the good way to get confidence is to ask myself, am I invested? You know, in this collaboration, am I actually invested in it? You know, do I have a place where I can put myself in it? Do I have value that I plan to bring to it and get from it? Because you will definitely need that. If you don't have that, there's no way you can really jump to the next level of collaboration and feel held accountable. If someone tries to hold you accountable for shit that you're not invested in, that's going to be really frustrating for them, because you're going to be like, oh, I slept. I woke up at 8 because it didn't matter to you. You don't feel like you're losing anything. You didn't really have the investment. And I think confidence is related to that too. If you're really confident in yourself, you realize that just by you being, if you're really confident in your strategy and your plan and your ability to do work, then you will feel invested just by making some of these steps, because you realize your own work and what you can bring to the situation. And then you can use systems of accountability, which is lots of different systems of accountability, which on the most basic level is just saying, oh, I'm definitely going to be here on time. This is where I scheduled you. But now these days we have these awesome project management softwares, you know, so if you're planning an event, which is stuff that I like to do, or depending on who you're working with, you can get on some of these softwares, make calendar invites, and send them to people. Because now you have people who are invested, prepared, available, and ready. They have all this stuff. You just need to be able to hold each other accountable for the stuff that you're doing, so that you can actually accomplish some of that stuff. I feel like swearing for some reason, but I'm not doing it because I want to be able to do this.
It's feeling the energy in this place.
I want to be able to use that this video for other stuff. So anyway, if you're ready for collaboration, you did it! Clap for yourselves, everybody! Woo! Okay, so you're ready for collaboration. You can ask yourself the question, we are ready, and I think one way, if the answer is no, this is where it gets really interesting too, and you might see me shift some of these things around later on. But loyalty is a really great way to figure out, to get yourself to a place where you're ready. And what I mean by that is sometimes what will keep you from being ready to do some of the bigger stuff is you have a lot of people that you're doing a lot of different things with. And so you haven't really figured out what it is to mesh with individuals on a deep level. And you really do need to have a certain group of people that you're really working with a lot, and that's a way to get loyalty if you don't already have it, and that'll help you get into that we are ready thing, and being able to actually say we and own this collaboration, because it's you and that person, whether they're late, whether all these other things actually have some kinks in them later on, and really just no matter what happens, I think loyalty is a really important thing for collaboration. And I just started this little challenge which kind of illustrates it for me, where I unfollowed all the 50 people on my Instagram and my Twitter. Like, that's a big deal. But anyway, this is the kind of stuff I do. But I did that so I could really see who my community was, you know, the people that I was engaging with on a daily basis, and really like those people's posts all the time. Everyone's feeding me a lot of stuff. If I can give that value, if I can double down on that relationship, that's so much more. And then the second part of that little challenge is one day a week, I repost one of my, I'd say pick a group of about 7 to 12, with one of those every day, giving back to them. And the power that comes from it, it's like, wow, it's amazing. Anyway, I think. And then you can find out if some of them are bums.
Is that done? Is that done on your personal?
I only have one Instagram. I don't have 2 Instagrams. Because of the way that I do myself, Kinyo, entrepreneur, I have that Instagram, and that's the one that I use. So, yeah. So I don't really make a separation. I don't really think there is one too much. But, yeah, that kind of.
Yeah, so it would be on a professional stance if I see somebody, if they don't have, if they're not, even if they're not a professional and you repost their stuff,
Yeah.
it's just building that community and that connection with other people that are interested in the things.
Yeah, you do. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And really think it's the way to think about who that 7 to 12 would be. And we're talking about entrepreneurship here, really. Like, so it would be the people. It might be your mom, but like it might be like people that you know and stuff like that. It really can be. But it's really to think about the 7 to 12 people who you want to give a lot to and get a lot from. That you really want to be working with, that you consider. It's not necessarily. I think people say the word team a lot, and they mean like who are people who like set up all my shit when I'm doing events. Ah, damn it, I swear. But anyway, but I think a team is more, the people who provide you a lot of support, moral support, whatever way that is. You can kind of pick. And when you're picking, you'll kind of know. Going through your list, it was really interesting when I was unfollowing everyone because I was like, oh man, I want to keep this person. It's like I haven't seen them since like 8th grade, and I just want to see, maybe if something else happens in their life, I want to keep them around. And that's diluting the attention that I have to grow, my business with people that I actually know. So I wasn't saying that these people aren't valuable, but if they really do pop in my mind later and I want to talk to them, well, let me actually then talk to them. I don't need to keep them around and not understand the value that's there for me. And when you're picking your 7 to 12, I think you'll kind of realize it. You might have a few iterations of it. And of course, those people will keep moving in and out, and it's not like you have to hold it over their head. I didn't tell my 7 to 12 who they were. I mean, I told a few of them, but it kind of moves around. I'm blessed to be in a situation where I do like a lot of my 7 to 12, and I feel like they've been there for a long time, so I'm kind of doing it after the fact. So in the beginning of the fact, there will be lots of iterations and stuff like that, but it should really be centered around your passion for healing people's body through your hands. So your thing. I'm sure it might be even bigger than that, so I don't know all of this stuff. It might be spiritual. Cool. So that is this. I will definitely have this on project4.tv. If you want to check it out, you just go to the bottom of the page and click workshops, and then there's a little bar that says workshop resources, and you can download this, and then there's a couple other things that I make every now and then. I like to make these technology things because if we have the right mindset so that we can switch ourselves and just become really fluid with our work, nothing will be able to hold you back as an individual. We all have a complete obsession with the things that we're passionate about. We don't need anything more than that in order to be able to build something really great about it. After that, it's just about having a good mindset, And either you're blessed with it or you will find ways to build it for yourself. And I think a lot of things are happening these days where we're moving in the direction of realizing how important some of this stuff is. It started with things like meditation and yoga, and that kind of put the body on mind and health and things like that. But we're really getting to the point where, as a collective, we're really thinking about this whole mindset thing. How do we be better to each other, and how do we stay, optimistic as entrepreneurs and things like that. It's not really about optimism. It's really just about knowing clear values and thinking clearly about the value even of the naps you take. Shit. Damn it. Oh, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we have to take naps, like during the middle. Okay, this is getting off topic. But it really is, taking a nap, I think, is just a great illustration of your own ability to realize that there's a better you on the other side of that 30 minutes. And it's markedly different so that you're going to get a way better return. And in the same way a lot of these things, loyalty, belief, confidence, they're the same thing. There's a better me on the other side of loyalty. You know, there's a better me on the other side of confidence. There's a better me on the other side of patience and listening and rest. So thank you guys so much. I'm Kinyo.
All right, you're recording.
So a little bit about me. In 2014, I weighed the most that I've ever weighed in my life, 250 pounds. And towards the end of the month, there was a point where I looked in the mirror and really couldn't even recognize the inner me beneath all that. You know, it was still a piece of me, part of me, and you know, with my now girlfriend, she showed me a lot of documentaries about health. One of them, Forks Over Knives, and you know, it got to a point where it just clicked. You know, anything that, you know, when you make that quick shift from this is what I'm going to do, you don't even have to, there's not really much effort. And so one of the issues that I struggled with, I was working full-time, went to school full-time, and then was performing around San Antonio and other places full-time, and everything was just go, go, go. And so at that point, I was at 250 pounds, and I wasn't all muscle. As you can see, a lot of people would call me Aries Spears and stuff like that, you know. So there was a point where I was just like, something has to change. And so the first thing that I did in that journey was completely stop eating meat. And within that, by the time the new year came in 2015, I had already dropped a good probably 20 pounds and already felt that difference. And so the next step for me was doing the master cleanse. And prior to that, it was straight meat eating, like baking on everything and all types of fast food, all different types of things. And me, I love looking at numbers. I love crunching numbers. And one of the things that I looked at is in the course of 5 years, if I ate fast food every other day, got a pack of cigarettes every other day, I was very lenient on myself. I know I spent a lot more than this, but it was over $35,000 that was spent on fast food and cigarettes, and we don't realize how those little things can add up over time. And so, you know, with doing different types of research, you're able to see that, oh, you can get a plot of land with that amount of money. You can get, you know, a full-fledged, you know, nice car with that type of money. And so that was just strictly on fast food and cigarettes, and not to mention any other random things. So money is definitely a contributing factor in wanting to change a lot of what I was doing, just for the simple fact when you're not in need as far as the perception of keeping up with the Joneses or anything like that. It's just your personal need. You don't really need to spend that much. You know, I'm trying to figure out how I had $35,000 to just spend on that. Of course, there was a lot more than that. The issue that I was running into is I had a reoccurring pilonitis cyst on my lower back, and so every day it would be, you know, draining, plus things like that. And so I had went and got surgery for it, and one of the causes of that was obesity, stress, different things that are all contributing factors, especially with the way that you eat. And so he stopped eating And so I went from not eating meat to a couple of months later fasting for 10 days. And people saw during the end of that 10-day that I was literally full because of all the detoxification I was going through and just feeling amazing in general. And so a little bit about just a little bit that I went through. Now, what a polynomial cyst is pretty much has a sac filled with debris and hair that occurs in the area at the top of the crease of the buttocks overlying the tailbone. And so, you know, I had went from high school to working a lot of sit-down jobs. Prior to that, it was in high school, everything was sitting and standing up. And so when I got into the call center environment, that's a very stressful environment in general. You have the callers that are going through their own stuff, and then combination of sitting, it's just overall stressful environment. So I developed a cyst, and so even after getting it going through as far as the doctors to actually go into surgery, it got to a point where I was hunched over. I couldn't, couldn't use the bathroom, anything like that. And so when I went into the emergency room, they went straight and then basically the next day and operated on me. It was that bad. And so these are some of the causes. And so a little bit of facts about cysts is that it is predominantly in males more than women. Young age, in their 20s, which would make perfect sense. I'm 26 going on 27, and this was an issue that I was dealing with since my earlier 20s. Sedentary lifestyle, big body hair, family history, and local shaving or damage to the skin from friction. I put overweight and obese because that was, if you look at a lot of origins from a lot of dis-ease, a lot of that does have to play with what you ingest. And so, my solution is the set of principles that I call VAT. And so, VAT stands for, the B stands for belief. And so, science has shown that 1/3 of all healing is through belief. The foundation, basically what it is that you think. You've heard of the placebo effect, nocebo effect, things like that, and they're showing that through prayer, meditation, you're able to heal yourself. And so belief is the state of mind in which a person thinks something to be the case, with or without there being empirical evidence to prove that something is the case with factual certainty. And so a lot of doctors would go forth and they don't ask you certain questions as far as like, what is your, they don't ask questions as far as based on your color. A lot of it is like a one size fits all, and you can't really do that due to the fact that our phenotypes are different. And so when going through and the healing aspect of things, my first part, the foundation, was belief, just belief in myself, belief in the fact that I can heal just with feeling good. You have a lot of documented case studies of the placebo effect and doctors going in and saying that, this pill, take this and you're going to be good. And because we have this, we have a certain view of doctors, we know that their word is kind of God. So if they're telling us that, you have this amount of time to live, you're seeing a decrease in that person's health because they completely gave it up. So when they say that, this will, end up fixing you, they're finding that these people are healing tremendously. And so one of the things that happened when I stopped eating meat and I went on a fast is this cyst that was draining for years had, by the 10th day, completely stopped. And swelling had went down to a complete non-existent thing, and so the way that I'm looking at that is that, the body is an amazing thing, for something that you can have an issue with for 3 years and for it to be completely healed after 10 days is an amazing thing on belief and other aspects of And that's what one of the doctors, Bruce Lipton, he had a CD. It's like an 8-bit CD, and it was called Wisdom of Cells, I believe, Wisdom of Ourselves. And he talks about different situations where people are healing themselves through belief. And so I decided to put in the quote, we're not victims of our genes, but masters of our fates, able to create lives overflowing with peace, happiness, and love. And so we hear a lot about negative things that fall into our family tree. You know, we don't really hear about a lot of positives, and people fall prisoners to those particular statements that, diabetes runs in your family, high blood pressure runs into your family. But when you do the research and you find out that you're not bound to these are just letting you know that, hey, we're going to have to maneuver through and take a little bit more care of things that you do to your body. And so the A stands for action in that. And so action is going to be the fact or process of doing something typically to achieve an aim. So here you may have heard, you can't just pray. You have to, do the work as well, or meet the universe halfway, different things like that. You can't just pray and not do any type of action. And so I put in a quote from K to the Arts degree from his vegan gene lecture, and you can't be a lazy vegan. And that really hit home to me, especially after finding out a lot of information that he was releasing on that when it came to health and just health in general. And I applied that to just being not even just a lazy vegan, but a lazy you, the best version of yourself. You can't be the lazy version of yourself, or else you're not going to be able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. And so when my journey started, it was a lot of action-oriented things. I did a lot of things that quickly shocked my body, like quitting meat, just never going back to it, and then shocking my body again by going into a fast, and then bringing in this clarity, and then going forth with meditation, going forth with yoga, going forth with being a little bit more conscious on what it is that I spend my money on and put in my body. And then the last aspect of the back principle is time. And so time, of course, the measure the time taken by a process or activity or a person doing it. And so Jim Henson, you might have heard of him as far as with the Muppets and Dark Crystal, things like that. And so only time can heal your broken heart, just as only time can heal his broken arms and legs. And so I use these three principles as the foundation for moving forward, because a lot of people expect to heal instantly, or they expect, because we live in an instant gratification society, that everything is just going to happen, just like that. And we're not even at a mental part to where time isn't an issue, where we can heal instantly and different things like that. So until then, we have the time that it takes as far as to heal, to apply these principles, and to, it's patience, and patience in itself is something that is a lifelong process, and that's what I've learned as far as with this healing. So instead of the picture in 2014, that was the heaviest, and then there was a picture as far as me within this year. And of course, I'm not perfect. There's a lot of transitional things that I'm working on, but one of the main things is cutting out meat, and at least being conscious that what it is that I'm eating does have some type of effect on me. And so that is my back principles of healing. B is for belief, A is for action, and T is for time. And yeah, that is my presentation.
Leave that up there.
Any questions?
What would you say to people starting out?
To apply, basically, KT talks a lot about transitions, do like me and just go into the extremes and not, transition through, one of the things that I do as far as with detoxing is, after doing the fast, I don't go into a detox with going from solid foods directly into straight up liquids. It's a transitional thing. So I'll go a couple of days with going from specific solids to fruits and then juices, and then straight up juices and smoothies, and then going into liquid fasting and things like that. So definitely, first starting off, I wholeheartedly believe in transition.
Any questions?
Please give it up for Kevin Prins. You can find him at Graffiti the Mind Son.
Natural.com, Instagram, Graffiti the Mind Son, and natural.com.
It's a really awesome MC. On day 4, he's going to be performing some of his songs. We're going to be out on my ice house in San Antonio. It's a true North Alamo. And this thing is a true Christmas party, true holiday party. Just not Christmas, not everyone. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun there. What else was I going to say? So we're going to, it'd be cool if you guys checked out some of our videos, maybe some videos about when we go to these other cities and what that's like. We're putting San Antonio on, letting them see all kinds of crazy stuff that we do and documenting. I've been doing a year of crazy documenting of this journey, and he's actually been doing the same thing. He's made our collaboration go so well. He's been doing the self-doubt to self-published vlog on YouTube where he talks about how he published his own book and got to where he is kind of right now, which is he's sold 300 books, and that's just around San Antonio popping up in different places. So the idea came for us to bring together a convention. It was really great, and we went to go see KT the Arch Degree like 3 times in Dallas. We had some footage of that. We recorded them last time, and then KT decided we would definitely come. He's been wanting to come to San Antonio, so that's really exciting. Yes, and then we're going to take a little break so KT arrives and sets up. But there is this app that it would be dope if you guys downloaded, and I'm only saying it because if I don't say it, I'd be doing myself a disservice. I've been talking with this app, this wonderful app company. It's called the Bravo Tipping app, and we're both on it. And basically, what it allows you to do is support different workshops and things like that you see. Come out on Friday, it'll be definitely useful because it has like a thing so you can see everybody who's at the event, and then if you really like someone, you can give them a tip. And I'm on there, and then others on there. Whatever event we do next, we're going to involve that in a good way. Yeah, other than that, we guys just chill for a little bit. You guys want a ride around the block on the bikes?
Check out ARW Ancestral Regal Rap.
Oh, she's an.
Alright guys, thank you so much for coming to HWC 2017. When I say lion, you say tiger, lion.
Tiger. Bears, no lion.
Too easily manipulated. Why would you do that? I don't even know it's thanks. This is day 3 of the Holiday Writers Convention. And shout out to Catherine for helping with us a lot. Marco, I assume you're like right hand. Oh no. What's your name? Oscar. I knew it was most of the letters. If there was an M instead of an S, that would be correct. Yes. Okay. But that's super awesome. What else did I want to say? I wanted to make some announcements. What do you sell, man? Excuse me? Miss, what do you sell?
I'm not selling anything,
Okay.
but I'm promoting my business.
What's your business?
It's known as treasure events. So any event that you ever want to host, like quinceañera, wedding, rapper, dancing, anything you think of, that's the place. Yeah, it's known as treasure.
Super cool.
And then we also do like workouts there, like we swing in trainers, we do like workouts on certain days.
What? Okay, I'll have to get a card. We have to do a video after this. That'll be super great. Awesome. Okay. Tomorrow, well, everyone here already knows. You don't know. Tomorrow, you don't know either. If you guys are, tomorrow, if you want to hang out at a little ice house, we're going to be there from about 5 o'clock. And there's going to be like 5 really cool musicians. We're just going to close this thing out like a true holiday season party. I'm going to perform some poetry and probably a new track that no one has ever heard me sing before in Texas. Sing. Awesome. Yes. So that's going to be really great. But definitely, if you want to see any of the footage, all you guys check projectforward.tv or check Mr. Composition page or my page, Kinyo, because we recorded a lot of stuff. We're still going to get a video of you because we like to build in the culture here in San Antonio. We're doing it by force. Let me tell you guys about my walk of faith. Everyone's so ready, like, oh, this is awesome, this is what over here. But I don't have it ready yet. One day when like I get there and I have all this stuff and I'll put it together and I'll definitely do that. Yeah, this has been a great first 3 years. I hope I get to see you guys repeatedly and often. And shout out to Black Writers in San Antonio for all the organizational help. ARW and Sexual Regal Raps. I'm rocking your bracelet. If you don't have cool stuff, pop something, do it. Now I'm going to present our speaker for tonight, the last workshop of today, and then we're going to get into some crazy dancing stuff and stuff like that. Oh, get some hot cocoa if you want it. But he's really great. I met him through Mr. Composition. Mr. Composition's health journey was great. We saw that in the workshop. It was super awesome. But he's been turning me on to a lot of cool health things. I don't really eat that well, but he's been a good inspiration. I know I can just hang out in his house and I'll have his stuff on deck. That's what I like to do. And so that led me into learning about our next speaker who's I'm going to tell you more about it. So kind of create some context and things like that. But it's definitely going to be a super intellectual health conversation. And by the end of tonight, there won't be one meat eater left in the room. Everyone's going to be. And if you do want to still eat meat, don't leave. You're going to have KT lay hands on everybody. And give that down. But without further ado, give it up for KT, the arch. Greetings, everybody. How are y'all today? Alright, so I'd like to thank all y'all for bringing me out. First of all, I have a great passion. I feel that in the world that's long list of problems, like as long as a kid's Christmas list. But I feel one of the most primary issues that we have to attack, everybody might feel their issue is most important, but I feel health is something that we really need to spend more time on. Because every other issue that we deal with has to do with our thinking and our perception and our relationships with others. And all those things are predicated upon the things that you're putting inside of your body. Okay, if you're not eating correctly, if you're not taking care of yourself, then your brain is not going to be getting the proper minerals, nutrients, and needs. It's not going to be able to engage with people properly, and you're going to have problems when you're dealing with folks. So I feel if we focus more on health, focus more on agriculture, on the land, run out with food, things of that nature, I think a lot of the other problems won't be as complicated. Okay? For those of y'all that might not know who I am, just to kind of give y'all some quick background. Anybody know who Dr. Sabian is in here? Yes. Dr. Sabian. All right. Well, I was fortunate enough to be born into a family. My mother married him. He raised me. That is what kind of got me started on the whole culture. Learned a lot underneath his tutelage, and at a certain age, I just decided to kind of like get a little deeper with it all. I noticed that like with any elders, they have isms. You know, elders have isms where they kind of say a little phrase, but the knowledge within that phrase is worth a whole book. And he had a lot of those. The problem with the isms today is the fact that we got YouTube, which wasn't around back then when he was going throughout the States. Google,
Instagram, and now there's sound bites of this information that are taking the world by storm, which is a beautiful thing, but a lot of people weren't there for the whole journey or all the information, so they just get bits and pieces and they kind of run away with it. So I find it a need to come and kind of elaborate on a lot of his points, get more in detail, more in depth, so that people can go behind me, double check, do the research, and really find out what's going on in health and what they need to do to maximize themselves. All right? So this lecture that I'm about to do, we'll see how much we can get through, is entitled The Vegan Gene. The reason why I entitled it The Vegan Gene is because if you're, matter of fact, how many vegans are in the house? Any vegans in the house at all? We got one.
Transitioning.
I've done vegan cleanses, but
Vegan cleanse, okay, transition, in and out. Okay. Hokey pokies. Put it right there. Now, when a vegan speaks to somebody who still eats meat, there's an interesting conversation that ensues between the two parties. And it always ends up with people who eat meat coming from a perspective of health, saying the reason why is because of this point, that point, and that. My personal interpretation is that meat eaters, if people want to eat flesh, they can eat flesh. Everybody has a choice of what they want to do in this world. Do it. But when you come with science, trying to prove that to me, that's the thing that gets under my skin, and then I have to like retaliate. You see? So I decided to come up with the vegan gene to kind of settle the score and prove that as a people, our bodies are designed to consume fruit and vegetables. And if you decide to eat meat in your lifestyle, that's something you specifically decide to do. I have no problem with it. Just don't say it's a healthy option. It's not, okay? So let's go on and flow through this thing, and then you'll find out why it's called the vegan gene, because that's like, hold up, you telling me there's a gene that says I'm vegan? We'll soon find out. All right, so I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of this whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. Where's that from? Scripture. Specifically, Genesis. What's so special about Genesis?
The beginning.
Creation story? How about the fact man and woman were butt naked in the jungle? And in the rainforest, in the forest? Isn't that living it up? No, don't need no clothes. Don't need no social media. Don't need none of that stuff. It's just you and nature. And then, based on decisions that took place inside that garden, other situations started to commence after that point. Until you find yourself halfway through the Bible where everyone's crazy, and then people want to open that book up and be like, yeah, right here, it tells you how to prepare meat. I say, yeah, but look at the circumstance. Look at what all has happened since Genesis up until this point. Now when they're eating meat, of course they eat meat because of the situation they're in and the society they're in now. But if you go back to where they started, because the whole point of the Bible is to get back to that garden. That's what's happening. So the revelation is, I should have never left the garden. That's the revelation, divine revelation. So I find it quite interesting that this quote, this statement, is in Genesis at the beginning. They're telling you what to eat. All right? Now, by them saying, let the fruit be your meat, what they're saying is the same textures, the same experience that you have eating pork loin or eating a ribeye or eating a drumstick. You can get those same experiences from eating meat. From eating fruits. Because the texture of the fruit is made up of the same thing that the meat is made of. It's just at the second, third, fourth process. The only thing it's going to take from you is for you to put your energy into the preparation of food so you can yield the same experience as somebody that cooked meat has experienced. But see, a lot of us, because we live in a society that's a microwave society, now everything's fast, everything's moving, we don't have the time no more. We go through a drive-through, we get what we can. We don't want to take time to till the earth, to grow our food, to have an intimate relationship with it, put our soul and our spirit into the meal, and parents who sit down as a family and eat. All right? So, why do we eat?
To fuel ourselves? To fuel
To
ourselves?
fuel ourselves. What else we got? Why do we eat, y'all?
Nutrients and vitamins.
Nutrients and vitamins. I'll start calling on people in a minute.
For energy.
For energy, okay, fuel, energy, vitamins, minerals, nutrients. What else?
Community.
Community. To live.
To enjoy ourselves.
To enjoy yourselves. Pleasure. Here we go. Be real. So y'all like, okay, yeah, okay, this is the health guy talking. I gotta make sure my answer is consistent with how he think. No! That's not what I asked you. I didn't say give me the answer I want. I said, why do we eat? Why do you eat? Why do people eat? Because they like, because I'm hungry. Because I'm hungry. Okay? Because I want to fill up my stomach. Okay? Because we hungry. When I went to a college and I asked that question, they pretty much said these verbatim before I put that screen up. They said the same stuff. I was like, wow. Because we're hungry to get full, now someone said to live, but most people eat to survive more than to live, which are two different things. Okay, living is quality standard of life. Surviving is just making sure your heart keep beating. Okay, and you keep breathing. All right? 3, don't want to think about food with all this stuff we have to get done. For example, work, school, and most people don't want to most men don't want to have my physique. They ain't trying to be some mean poles. You know, they're trying to be big, stocky, and strong. And you ain't going to get that, fruits and vegetables. Even though the largest land animal is a vegan, that don't matter. I mean, elephants, that ain't strong. But these are the reasons why people usually respond to that question. All right? Now, why choose certain foods over others?
Taste.
Yeah, taste.
Huh?
Taste.
Taste. Convenience.
I like what you mentioned about brain functionality, so that you can, if you're eating healthy, to have a functional brain and
Oh, yeah, you're thinking. Cognitive function. Anything else?
Smell.
Smell, huh? Texture. Like a lot of people say taste, but what if something tastes good, but then it's all slimy or mushy, you know? You don't want it no more, so it has to have the crisp on that bread got to match with the juiciness of the burger, and then the crispness of the lettuce and the watery tomato. Like all those attributes come together for a texture like experience that your tongue takes you through, you know? So taste and texture, this is a big one everybody left out, family tradition. Like most people choose one food over the other because they were raised, that's what mama cooked. That's what grandmama cooked. That's what your uncle cooked and your cousin made, you know? Then you got nutrition, and then somebody said, I think somebody said happiness or something like that. But yeah, emotional states. Come on, you just broke up with somebody.
Relieve stress.
Eating ice cream all night. With chocolates, okay? You angry, you do your hangry eating. You know, when you're mad, you know? So you got all these different reasons why we eat, why we choose one food over another. So some people say, yes, definitely want to be full rather than starve. Okay, some people say I have to look a certain way because of the standards of society, not even them. Because they're trying to get this job or they're trying to attain this type of position, they have to have that look, okay? Like imagine somebody my size trying out for football. That don't matter if I'm the best wide receiver in the past 200 years, I don't gotta look for it. You know what I'm saying? Now, most people will reply, what, way vegan? No, I can't accomplish none of the above. I mean, I'm man on top of the food chain. I got dominion, right? That's what it says in the Bible. I got dominion over all animals. Which means I got the right to cut, kill, stab, prod, whatever living creature I want to. Because dominion is like domination, right? I got domination over all animals. But remember, the Bible wasn't in English in the beginning. It's in Hebrew. And a lot of key words are translated but they're not consistent with the intent of what was written. So the word dominion can be taken loosely in regards to the same way. Who has children in here? You got dominion over your children. That don't mean they're your slaves. Right. That don't mean you can kill them if you want to, right? Right. Yeah, that just means you're responsible for them, you know? So we have responsibility over the animal kingdom. And their spirituality, their movements, their actions, they all reflect our spiritual nature. You say it all the time. You say his courage is like a lion. Oh, that's a big old teddy bear. Man, that dude's a snake. Right? We use animals to describe our inner natures. Okay? So we have a relationship with them, and our relationship should always equate with blood dripping on the floor. Okay? Alright, so why do we eat meat?
Protein.
Protein, they said.
Here you go.
It tastes good.
Smell.
Textures.
When it's cooking.
Because your parents made you. Because you're hungry.
It's there.
Because it's there. Exactly. It's there. Might as well eat it. There you go. Like we said, protein. Protein is the main answer to that question. There's 1,001 answers. So it's going to come back to protein. But then, follow up with why do we drink milk and eat dairy?
But it's part of the meat industry. It's a
Government subsidized.
Government subsidizes part of the meat industry.
Food pyramid.
Food pyramid is part of the food groups. We gotta eat it. It's something that was forced down our throat. Cereal. Come on, no mustaches, man. Does a body good. That's what I was told when I was little. Strong bones. I can be like Michael Jordan when I get old. If I drink milk. Right? Anybody else? Any other dairies?
Calcium.
Calcium. There we go. That's the $1 million answer. All right, so protein, calcium. Now those are the answers that we always get. Okay? So now the question is, that thing that you always respond to me with when I ask you why you eat meat, what is that thing? Like, okay, you say it's protein. Okay, protein. Like if I said, man, who did this? And you say, man, James did it. Man, who's James? Like, can you tell me who James is, please? Because I got to, if you're going to clean this up, I'm going to clean this up. No, James need to clean this up, but I can't ask James to do it because I don't know who James is. Who's James? Who is protein? What is this guy? What does he stand for? What is this about? Anybody?
Amino acids.
Amino acids.
a way to break down energy.
A way to break down energy.
Muscles.
Muscles. Okay.
It holds together. It holds together things.
Holds together things. Okay, protein is a term. It's a very broad term that pretty much means tool. To give you an example, if I had a screwdriver in my hand and you've never seen a screwdriver before, more than likely you would deduce that the reason for this tool is to either screw a screw in or pull the screw out. How do you know that? Because of the design of the tool. So proteins are tools where the body creates them in a specific design, and that design denotes the functionality of that protein. Okay, so you got DNA and RNA, okay? Those are forms of protein. Genetic information, storing, okay? The same way, if I want to build a building, I got to get a blueprint. Somebody draws the blueprint up, okay? The blueprint is the gene. That blueprint is then given to a contractor, like a transcription factor, all right? Who then gives it to workers' ribosomes that build up everything that's on that blueprint into a building. And that building is the protein, the structure. Okay, so as you see there, it says structural, so collagen. Okay, your cartilage, your collagen, your connective tissue, all that stuff. Right, and then you got globular proteins, which are like these globular shapes that connect with little metals, and they do specific things like hemoglobin. Who knows what hemoglobin is in here?
They always check it before I give blood.
Always check it before they, so it has something to do with the blood.
Hold it together.
Holds the blood together. Anybody?
It's not blood.
Yes? Yes, you can answer. It's protein. Yes, it is a protein. Hemoglobin is what is responsible for giving our blood its red color. All right? Specifically because in the center of it, it contains an atom of iron. And this atom of iron is what is responsible for binding oxygen. So as we breathe in the air from our atmosphere, and we want to take the air from our atmosphere into our cellular structure to use to liberate the food energy, right? It has to get there. It's gas. I can't just snatch it up and put it in my arm. It has to be a very intricate process in order to get gas, which atoms are like kids at recess, to flow through water and go to specific cells in which I'm made up of 100 trillion of them. How do I do that? Well, the red blood cell is a bus, okay? And the seats of that bus are the hemoglobin, okay? And the hemoglobin has an iron in it, okay? And that iron is like a seat belt in which the oxygen is the passenger, okay? Red blood cell bus, bloodstream road, okay? Hemoglobin, iron core, seat belt holding what? The oxygen in place so it doesn't fall out the seat, fly out the window, whatever. And then when it pulls up to the cell that needs the oxygen, opens up the door, the oxygen goes out, goes where it needs to go. And who gets on the bus?
CO2.
Carbon dioxide. And then I get back on the highway and I take that highway back to the lungs and then I exhale. Everybody gets off the bus and comes out and goes back in the atmosphere. Is it done there? No. The next thing that happens is a plant takes that waste, takes that trash, takes the people that just came out my bus mouth. That makes some sense. And it takes that carbon dioxide and turns it into sugar, which we know as fruit, which we started the conversation on. So it's reciprocation, okay? So, by me saying all that, that's to say, oh, okay, well if that's protein, I'm gonna get that from meat. Because how did the meat get the protein? Oh, it ate plants or it ate animals that eat plants. What do carnivores eat? They eat herbivores. What do herbivores eat? They eat plants. How do herbivores create their structure? From plants. Carnivores create their structure from plants. Do you know what a lion does the minute it kills an antelope?
Goes to sleep. Shortly after.
It guts it. It guts the antelope. And it eats the contents of the antelope's gut. What do antelopes eat? Do they eat fried chicken? Do they eat chorizo sausage? Do they eat ceviche? No, they don't. They eat plant matter. And the reason why they eat this stuff is to assist the digestive process because even they know that it's hard to digest some food. Okay? So, you got statements like this, man, vegans ain't healthy. They die of cancer, heart disease, just like we do. I done seen big vegans, unhealthy looking vegans. I'm supposed to give up my chicken wings, my hog maws. I want to eat chitlins. I like pig feet. That's a quote from Friday, for those of y'all that don't know about hog maws and chitlins, you know. But you hear these statements, and this is true. It's like, okay, you got somebody that's making a point that it's healthy to go vegan. It's like, okay, if it's healthy to go vegan, then why are there vegans with cancer? Why are there vegans with health disease? And why are there vegans that are dying too, like at the same age? You know, why are there big vegans? And why? if it's so healthy, then y'all should be gold aura and hardly touching the ground the way y'all talk. But to me, you look just like me. So why should I change anything I'm doing? It's a good point. There's another big statement people usually retaliate with. My grandma ate pig, or you can fill in the blank, any meat, smoked cigarettes, drunk bourbon. They're gonna say their grandmama did something and lived to be 140. Now I'd be like, I don't know if she lives to 140-year-old. That probably would have been on the news. Maybe she was 98 or something. But everybody's grandmama lived way past 100 years old, eating some trash. And that's usually the excuse. And I'm like, you know, that's a good excuse. I want y'all to kind of like file that right now. And we're going to come back to that statement. But this is a headline, and this is a headline to get into this next portion of the presentation. So are vegetarians. A new study says eating green won't lower your risk of early death. Now, you know life expectancy is 75. We got society tells us when we're going to die, and we agree with those terms and conditions. Actually, we don't even agree with that. We die earlier. And we have studies that show that vegetarians and vegans die early, just like people that eat meat get certain diseases from the meat do. Okay? So these are the leading causes of death in the country, which is actually a misnomer, because number one should be hospitals, which is called iotropic death, which is the death in hospitals based on them making mistakes and errors and all types of stuff like that. That's number one. Heart diseases, over 600,000, cancer, respiratory, accidents, stroke, Alzheimer's, all of these are the reason why everybody's dying. People could live a way better quality life if they took care of themselves, because all these diseases deals with the debilitation of our systems. That's it. The same way you don't drive a car no more. You know, it's because the transmission went out. You know, the thermostat's not working properly anymore. It's always something little that you could have taken care of, gotten an oil change, rotated tires, did all these different things to keep the maintenance of your car up. You just didn't do it, and eventually your car just gave out. So what do? You go buy another car. That's what these people are doing. They're buying other cars. You know, they abandon their body and they find another car to drive. Some of them make it back, some of them don't. Some of them we step on and we're walking down the street because they have to come back as an ant or something. But vegan versus meat eater, okay? So this is based on some studies. Now, remember the vegan thing is huge now. But like around 2000s, like that's when it really started kind of picking some momentum up. You started seeing stores popping around to kind of support this movement. The problem was there was a lot of street talk going around talking about this is healthy, that's healthy, do this, do that. But there weren't many case studies. Lives in society. They want proof. That's why there's Google and stuff now. So every time somebody says something crazy, you go look it up and then check in a book in the library to reference what somebody's talking about. But at this time, there wasn't any studies yet. Well, in the early 2000s, the first studies hit. It was an 18-year study, okay? And the results showed not only was the mortality rate the same as meat eaters, but vegans had a 30% greater risk of heart disease and strokes. In addition, vegetarians have twice the risk of dying from mental disorders. So the first studies come out, and they're against the vegan. So it's like, it's conspiracy, man. That's what it is, you know what I'm saying? Meat industry, dairy industry, they the ones that did these studies. They don't want nobody eating anything, right? That's the first thought, because you want to protect what you know is right. But see, even when you know something, you still got to do the research, you still got to execute to really find out the underlying meaning. And it was a true study, so that's one of them right there. If anybody wants to look it up, y'all can take a screenshot, check it out. All right. Now, after they did this study, they still got a lot of flack, and they was like, they said something was wrong with it. So they did another 18-year study, which just was released last year. So it's 2 of them, you know, and that's the other one. If y'all want to look them both up, okay? All right. So we all know there's always some East Coast, West Coast beef, right? Even vegans have beef, yeah. So, the funny thing about this East Coast, West Coast beef, I'm talking Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere. Okay, Western medical thought and then the Eastern thought. Now, there was a paper that was released on cholesterol levels, where we all know, higher the cholesterol, right? The worse your heart's going to end up being, okay? If you were to look at a line graph, you know, it would constantly go up, okay? The more your cholesterol rises, the more your heart risk rises as well. Well, they looked at the studies of people over in the East, and they quickly noticed that it had the same shape, but it was lower, meaning that they were consuming the same quantity of cholesterol, but their heart risk disease wasn't as high. So it was like, how was that possible? That don't make any sense. Well, when they looked further, they found out, it turned out that the ratio of PUFAs, okay, what are they frying the potatoes in? What are they frying all that stuff in? When you look at the back of a chip bag, what is it? Cottonseed oil all the time, safflower oil, sunflower oil, corn oil. Okay, these are all the oils. So while we're getting off meat, because most people think being a vegan means plant-based, meaning don't eat no meat. No, being a vegan means having a well-balanced plant-based meal, not just giving meat up. So we get something called lazy vegans, who just don't eat no meat, but eat everything else underneath the sun. And in doing that, create an imbalance within inside their chemical structure that equates to inflammation, diseases, pathology, problems, so forth and so on. Now, when you look at these omega-3s, like I was saying, there's a ratio, all right, that is supposed to be established. And what happened is, with the East Coast, West Coast beef, the ratio in America was just way off, all right? But the ratio in the Eastern Hemisphere is much better. That's why they weren't having as many heart issues. All right? So these are some of the ratios: 7 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 44 to 1. 7 to 1 was the meat eaters. Okay, the vegetarians were 10 to 1. The vegans were 15 to 1, and the vegan children were 44 to 1. That was years ago. Now the average American ratio is 25 to 1, and the vegan is about 44 to 1. And the ratio is omega-6 to omega-3. So y'all know what a ratio is, you know, one number to the other. So when I say that it's 44 to 1, that means that you would only get one omega-3 per every 44 omega-6s that will come in your body, which is ridiculous because the standard ratio that we should be taking in should be 4 to 1. Meaning every 4 omega-6s that come through our body, there needs to be an omega-3. But right now it's 25 to 1. And that's because of the oils that we're taking in and the foods that we're eating, unfortunately. You know? But look at the children. Why are the children so high? Because you know, what you buying a kid? You buy them chips and french fries all the time. You get them canned food that's usually fried, you know, and has some type of oil in it. And it's going to be one of those processed oils, hydrogenated, you know. So for most people, an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 4 to 1 is ideal. That's 4 omega-6s for every 1 omega-3. Anti-aging experts suggest going even further, maintaining a 1-1 ratio or higher in favor of omega-3s. So what that means is having a 1-1, meaning for every omega-6 you take in, an omega-3 need to go in. But they say you can even go even higher, where now it's flipped, where for every 1 omega-6, you got 2 omega-3s coming in, or 3 omega-3s coming in. And we're going to get into why omega-3s are so important as opposed to omega-6s. Okay? So yeah, Americans eat a ratio anywhere from 12 to 25 to 1 right now. And that's where the mucus and the inflammation is coming from. It's something that no one really talks about, but it makes all the difference in the world. Like if you saw somebody walk up and their skin was horrible, like you would know there's something going on the inside. You would see that. So it's the same thing with your cellular membrane. If your cellular membranes are all inflamed, imagine what's going on inside that cell. Nothing might not be happening. They ain't getting no signals. Okay. Now, homocysteine is a toxic byproduct. Remember we were talking about the protein earlier as being composed of amino acids, right? As amino acids are metabolized, broken down, and recycled, there's a byproduct of this product called homocysteine, okay? Now, this was another problem in the East-West beef. Homocysteine levels was crazy over here in America as opposed to over there. And when you look at the homocysteine levels of meat eaters, they're 12, but of vegans, they're 19, and the levels should be 10 or less, okay? The method that you use in order to get your homocysteine levels low is by taking in folate and B12. Now, people that eat fruits and vegetables all the time get a lot of folate. People that don't hardly get any folate. But the people that don't eat fruits and vegetables and eat meat, they get a lot of B12, where the vegans don't get none. And the reason why we don't get any B12 is because B12 is a cobalt-based vitamin that is produced by microbes, okay? And we used to pick our foods. We used to grow our foods, we used to harvest our foods, so our hand would touch the earth and the trees and stuff and go in our mouth. So that's how we would get our B12 in. But we wash things 3 times in bleach and soak it in apple cider vinegar and it's hanging outside to dry. You know, we don't get nothing on it no more. So that's another reason that the cardiac or the heart issues occur inside the vegans is because they have exorbitant amounts of homocysteine and then their omega-6, omega-3 ratio is way off. Okay? Now on the bottom I say Dr. Sebi ate blood. What does that mean? Well, I was told that when he would go to other countries, usually if we go to another country, besides, of course, passports and all that type of stuff, what is one of the main things we're told we have to do if we go into like a foreign country? Vaccine and don't drink the water, both of those, but vaccinations, right? So what he would do is he would go to a local creek, lake, pond. He would grab the mud that was there, he would eat some of it, because there was bacteria and microbes all in that stuff that he would introduce to his gut to bring his body up to speed so he wouldn't get sick being in this new environment. You see? But see, we weren't so scared of being interacting with nature back in the day. You know, now it's like, oh, dirt. Yeah. Come on, man. And if you had goggles to actually see all the stuff floating in the air, you wouldn't go outside. You wouldn't get out the bed. You know? You gotta be lucky that we have a visible spectrum that's so narrow that we can't see a lot of stuff. Because if we did, people would be going crazy. That's probably why there are people in institutions, because they can see more than we can. They can't handle the pressure. All right, so being a lazy vegan is extremely dangerous, especially if you don't truly know thyself. Ancient vegans didn't have the same distractions and poor options. The environment was more balanced. Think about it. They didn't have the KFC, you know, or Taco Bell. Okay, I'm gonna go in there. I'm just gonna get the veggie burrito. You know what I'm saying? But like, what are the standards of the things that make the veggie burrito up? Okay, and like I haven't even gotten into the meat yet. You know, I'm banging on the vegans, and I'm a vegan because my thing is the best way to properly explain this information so you can really get it is so I don't stand on some pedestal like I'm holier than thou. I gotta explain to everybody the problems, the issues, so that when we work through this thing, we can be strong. Okay? So after all this that I just talked about, it looks like eating meat is the way to go. Ain't no problem, because eating plants, you get just as many problems, right?
Yes, yes.
All right, so let's get into the next section of this presentation. Welcome to the Milky Way galaxy, full of cow-words, bullish, and heifers, or galactos. Now, question. What is the Milky Way?
Our galaxy?
Our galaxy. What does galaxy mean?
Galactos.
Thank you. Yes, that's up on the screen. Some people freeze though. The reason why it's called galaxy is because the root is galact. Galact means milk. Okay? Because the universe is our mother. And our first teacher is a breast being put in our mouth. That's our first thing. Like, the minute we come out, we cry. We crying because we got slapped. We don't naturally cry coming outside of the mother. You know, we get slapped on our behind, and that's like, oh wait, what was that? Like, we never felt a hand go against our skin. So it's like, I don't know how to talk. I'm just gonna let out a loud cry over and over again so somebody stops this thing I'm feeling. And the first person to do anything about it is this soft, warm thing with all this hair and these eyes. She just puts this nipple in my mouth and she's like, oh, I got a need for it. And then all of a sudden my microbiome wakes up, my digestive system wakes up, everything starts working the minute this milk comes in. So that's why mothers are the first teacher. They don't even have to say nothing. Think about it, most mothers don't. They gotta look, you know. Don't mess with her right now. You know what I'm saying? She in a good mood, okay, I can ask her if I can say, you know, if I can go on a trip tomorrow or something like that. You know, based on the unspoken energies that mothers have. Now, I played on all these words because we live in a society that really praises cows. And I gotta be careful because I'm in Texas now, and I'm in San Antonio, I was in Dallas, and there's a lot of cows, bull down here. So I gotta be careful about how I speak about the wise cow. But once again in the Bible, we hear about worshiping the golden calf. And this is exactly what we do right now with the cow. Okay, don't you utter one bad word. Now, we got meat and dairy. Okay, we got transglutaminase, which is meat glue that they use to take old post-mortem meat that's not nutritious by their standards any longer, green, and they pump it with water, carbon dioxide to make it red again, and then they mix it with this protein that they yield from pig blood and cow blood called transglutaminase, and they glue the pieces together, and then they turn that into a piece of steak. And then they put it in the supermarket, and you think it's one piece of meat. And it's 15 different pieces of meat from 12 different time zones and 10 different eras. That's why you wonder why the first piece tastes good, but the second piece, what's going on? We get glue, you know, from the feet, you know, and everything like that. That's why there's a cow on Elmer's. Did y'all know that's why she, because that's where you get the glue from. Bovine serum. Anybody who getting them vaccinations, boy, there's all types of lovely little cow remnants up in that stuff. Okay? Hide and commerce, which we know down here, a lot of the hide, the skins, leathers, things like that, traded, you know. And then when you go to Wall Street, bull market, cash cow, these are all terms, even in this building, we call it bulldozing. So we use cows all throughout our society. We stay on this and then we eat them like religiously. And people want to always use antique, oh, you ate meat before. Okay, yeah, but there wasn't a Burger King with 10 billion served. I mean, McDonald's with 10 billion served. Like, we didn't have burger for breakfast, burger for lunch, burger for dinner, steak for breakfast, steak for lunch, steak for dinner, every single day of the week. Because you had to raise the cow. You had to kill the cow. You had to clean it, separate all its parts. You think folks was eating that stuff every single day? No, it was like something that was probably eaten on a full moon or something like that. And those were only based on cultural standards, based on a community at a given point in time. That doesn't mean that's the original way that community operated. That's under the conditions that the community was in at that time. Okay? So, for those who love cheese and milk and yogurt and cream, in order to make milk, female cows are bound to a metal apparatus called it's supposed to be a C right there, a rape rack. Okay? And they call it a rape rack, not because rape means anything else other than what rape means. And they bring a male cow over and she gets raped, she gets forcefully inseminated, right? And then once she gets impregnated, right? And the child is born, they take the child away. The mother cries, like, I'm talking about, like if you heard a woman wailing in the middle of the night, like a block away, on a megaphone, that's what a cow would sound like, calling for her young. If it's a male, the male gets sent off and becomes a veal, okay? And if it's a female, they get recycled into the same process. Now this cow that they inseminated, more than likely, she's just a child, okay? So this is kind of like me taking an 11-year-old girl and hitting her with antibiotics so her breasts grow and her booty grow and her thigh grow, and then put her on a strip. Give me some money. This is the same thing that's happening to these cows. They're not even grown, full female cows. They're still young. But they're hit with all these drugs to force them. That's why women have these bodies in elementary school and junior high, because they're drinking the milk, so they're drinking antibiotic, and those antibiotics are playing off of their hormones when they go through puberty, so they develop at an alarming rate. But see, big booty, big thighs, all that stuff has to deal with creating a child, which means it's putting her in the state of producing children, which means if she develops too quickly, she's going to degenerate too quickly as well. So then you'll have a woman at 40 years old who's really 70 inside her body, you know? Yeah.
I read that even girls are also getting their menstruation periods faster because of the milk that we drink.
Oh, yeah. They're getting young, 9 years old, 10 years old. What do you think a 9-year-old girl feels like? She goes use the bathroom and there's blood in the toilet.
You're barely learning in elementary, and some of them hit it before they're even taught what's happening.
That's right. And we don't get conversations on sex and how our body works and anything like that. So we have to go off of friends, social media, what everybody else is doing. You know, unfortunately. So you see how all this stuff kind of sneaks into society and makes all these other issues. Okay? So, in addition to that, the FDA, which we allow to approve the foods and the drugs that we take. Why is there a Food and Drug Administration in the first place? Because there's a war on drugs. We have an administration for it. Allowance of pus cells in milk is 22 million per ounce. Per ounce. So the average child, you know, when they go to school, they get that little pint of milk. A pint of 16 ounces, so they're allowed 22 million times 16 cells to drink every single day at school in order to make the body good. Who likes pus in here? Anybody? Come on. Who has a tall cup, cold glass of pus when they come home from work every day? Just nice and yellow and smelly? No. A little swirl of blood in there, maybe?
Okay, I do. No.
Oh, yes. Got one. But this is what they allow in there. Now remember, cheese, what was the ratio with the gallons again? It was like, in order to make 1 pound of cheese, I think you need like 100 gallons of milk or something like that. It was 22, 50, I forget what the ratio. Yeah, it's cheese is milk concentrate. And then on top of that, it's spoiled. So now you have all of this going on inside of you. So then people want to say, yeah, you know, indigenous people are lactose intolerant. Well, no, I just showed you we live in the Milky Way galaxy, galactose. You can't be lactose intolerant. It's a sugar. We're not allergic to the universe. Please stop that. What we're allergic to are cow proteins because we're not cows. We're the only animal that drinks milk from another animal. We want to talk about everybody else, but there ain't no dog that walked up to like an elephant and is like, can I get some of your milk? Like, it don't happen. Now, you got extreme circumstances where animals about to die. You'll have one type of animal take another animal in, you know what I'm saying? But you don't see other animals drinking milk from another animal also past their developmental cycle. Like, remember, milk is supposed to be when we're children. You got grown men drinking a tall glass of milk thinking, and we wonder why when we look at basketball today, cats go up to do a layup and come down and their leg is bent in 8 different directions. Like, I've never seen, like in the 80s and the 90s, who was getting hurt? They had less gear in football back in the 60s and the 70s. Jim Brown? What? That dude was a brick house. Today, they got every known piece of armor on them when they go out there. And they a hangnail will cause their like arm to fall off or something. You know. And that's because the integrity, the quality of their tissues, of their bones, of their blood they're like plastic now. So they're responding as a plastic toy would under harsh conditions. They'll snap and break. So to make 1/4 pounder, you need about 7 pounds of GMO grain and 53 gallons of water, about 75 square feet of land, and 1,036 BTUs in order just to make a burger. A burger. Not billions of billions served, which is just McDonald's. Not talking Burger King, not talking Hardee's, Carl's Jr., Wendy's, Light Capsule, Crystals, the mom and pop stores, the diners, steakhouses. Please explain to me, how do we supply 8 billion people with cow and chicken, and people still think that they're brought up in a natural, loving, healthy environment? If you're eating a cow at all. Because if we were in Asia, see, Asians I have respect for when it comes to eating meat. Because they see meat as meat. Dog, cat, rat, they don't care. But you know good and well if you went in a restaurant, you open up the menu and they like, you got rat fingers. Instead of chicken fingers to dip. You might be like, yeah, we about to go to this other spot. You know what I'm saying? And Asians know that, so they just label chicken, dog, and all that stuff chicken because they know we too bougie over here. And we ain't gonna buy it no other way. But they don't eat it over there. But over here, it's chicken, it's turkey, it's beef. It's the same 5 animals, only animals we eat. For some reason, we don't eat nothing else. I don't see nobody chasing squirrels. Okay, that's what you want to do? Sure. I'm sure. Okay. All right. I'm thinking people just got here. Yeah, we can do that. Let's see where we're going. All right. Well, I'll get ready to wrap up this first half before we get into the scientific portion. I wanted to just kind of flow through it.
Still gonna do the second half of that style.
Yeah. No problem. No problem. So we're a little too bougie when it comes to meat. You know what I'm saying? And that's not me saying go out and start eating any old type of meat you see, start eating roaches, grasshoppers, bats, and whatever you find. But I'm like, if protein is the answer, when I ask why you eat meat, then it shouldn't matter the source of the protein. Because you don't know that could be the best tasting chicken-like meat that exists. You just don't know. You know? So we have a societal issue when it comes to consuming the flesh, you know, a lack of understanding of what the flesh does inside of our body, and really an understanding of how our body works as a whole. Because if we did, we'd understand what is the best fuel for our systems in order to experience optimum health. So does dominion over mean responsible for or supreme tyrannical rulership? Which one do you think it means in regards to animals? I think it means responsible, which means if we're responsible, we should not be raping cows and slaughtering all types of stuff to satisfy what? The fact that I'm hungry at 2 in the morning and I want to have a beef patty when I look at Netflix? Like, this cow had a family. You know, this animal had things to do, you know? And the funny thing about fruits and vegetables is they good. You know how you know a fruit ready to eat? It's not because you got your bow and arrow on it. It's because it falls off the tree. And either you can leave it there and let the seed go on the ground and grow into another tree that's going to spit out 1,000 more of them fruit, which is like the greatest technology that exists. You know, you can pick it up and you can eat it, and the same energy that's inherent in that fruit to make it turn into a giant tree with 1,000 more fruit, that power goes inside your body. So these are some of the things that we deal with meat, the antibiotics, the fact that a lot of them are cloned, they're not even real animals anymore, the living conditions. You think because a cow got a tumor on it, you think they're not going to cut it up and put it in the package? And you thought that was like fat. No, that ain't fat. You know? And in muscle memory, which we don't consider, okay? You ever been in trouble in school? Your whole class been in trouble before? I was in a private school when I was younger, and when someone would get in trouble and no one would own up to it, we would all get in trouble, and she would line us up along the blackboard like this and tell everybody to put their hands out like that. She had 2 rulers on her desk. She had a wooden ruler and a metal ruler. Pick that metal ruler up, and she'd go down one by one and smacking the crap out of each person's hand. Being the first person was a blessing. Because if you were last, you looking at everybody's reaction as it got closer and closer. Now let's switch that up. Let's say instead of just a line of children in the classroom, it's a line of cows about to go in the slaughterhouse. And you're hearing whirling and chopping and splattering of things and mooing and sounds and you just see the line get shorter and shorter and you're that cow in the back like, God, man, I hope they said that I was going to the promised land. I don't really sound like I'm getting out of here. So that gets encapsulated in the flesh, in the memory of the cow, and when you bite into that thing, you're translating all that muscle memory into your body. All right? So the U.S. is second only to Luxembourg in annual meat consumption, approaching upwardsly of 300 pounds per person annually. So out of all the countries in the world, we're number 2 in eating meat. And the only person to beat us is a place called Luxembourg, which I find ironic, with the burger in there. Okay, so we'll stop here and we're going to come back with this point, which is a statement I hear from a lot of people when, you know, we talk about the origins of society and people being vegan or not. We know about the out of Africa theory in terms of everybody coming out of Africa. So people want to look at Africa and say, okay, well, if everybody came out of Africa, let's look at Africans and see how they eat. And then based on that, we'll know how everybody ate before. So majority of the statements, of course, Africa as a whole eat, I mean, my response to the statements is, of course, Africa as a whole eats meat and blood and drinks blood because they've been colonized and they have been raped. And they're colonized and raped on a daily basis. And any society that's under an oppressive condition that's been colonized and been raped, you cannot believe that those people are eating the same foods that their original tribe was eating before they were taken control of. Why would I give somebody that I want to enslave the nutrients they need for optimum health so they can think for themselves and survive and provide what they need for them and their community? Why would I do that? So I can't look at Africa right now and dictate how they're eating now in regards to how they used to eat. You got to look at how they used to eat. So you got to pull up the bodies of the people that were here thousands of years ago, and then that's how you figure things out. All right? So we'll stop right here. And I appreciate your time so far. We're going to do this intermission real quick.
Okie doke, for those of you that were checking out the KT archery, I know you, and Nina C, he's gonna do about 15 more minutes, and then he's gonna do a Q&A. For those of you, now that everyone's all powered up and everything, we got the sage powers flowing through. I don't know. Copilot, sorry. Oh, okay.
Do you mind putting it all right there until thank you? I'm just gonna make my way around the interior and the perimeter, and then I'm on.
No worries. Catherine, I think it would be appropriate. I haven't done this yet. I want to say thanks to Catherine.
Yeah, Catherine.
This KP, I know we're gonna do. We still have the DJ. We still have
yeah, I'm gonna close the door though because it's
okay. Very cool.
You know what? I think that used to be known as council because they would bring them all in here on the house in here on trains. There was a big auction or something.
Well, anyway, let's just. Oh, sorry. I just totally put you up. Let's do a round of applause for Catherine for helping us do all this cool stuff. He's gonna KT.
All right, so when we left off, I was talking about how a lot of how we used to eat in antiquity, but you can't do that because the current state of Africa is not consistent with how it was in antiquity. As you would say here in America, you wouldn't be able to look at society today and compare that to the way society was in America, let's say 500-600 years ago. All right, so you can't base the foods that people are eating currently with the foods that people were eating before. All right, so remember earlier I told y'all to get the mental thought about that grandma lived till she was 140, but then or great grandma lived till she was 140. Even when that, her grandma only lived to 120, and then mama only lived to 100, and you only lived to 90 because of the decisions grandma made. So she got away with it. But in her getting away with it, she did something to her genetics that when it got passed down to the mother, she wasn't able to live as long following the same routine that grandma did. And it keeps happening until, you deal with a generation that dies at 60 doing the same thing as grandma. Plus the quality of whatever grandma was doing and what she was eating and consuming is not going to be consistent with what's now because everything is plastic. All right, so I'm going to move forward because we only got 15 minutes and I have to get into science now. Okay, so how many states of matter are there? 3, 4? Who says 3? 4? Who says 4? 4. Who said 4? 4 is over there. You say 4, and you said 3. Who else says 3?
Yeah, I say 3.
You say 3. What are the 3? Liquid, solid, gas. What's the 4? Plasma. Plasma. 4th phase is called plasma. Huh? No, you're thinking of blood plasma. Plasma is the state of atoms where all of the subatomic particles are separated. So if you think of gas, gas is atoms that are moving crazy, like kids at recess, running all over the place with a sugar rush. That's right, that's the gas. Liquid, still moving around. Not as crazy though. Bonds connecting, bonds breaking. Solid, still moving, but more still. Okay? But plasma is when the actual proton, electron, neutron is separated from one another. And they're their own atoms, and it's charged. So lightning is plasma, flames of fire are plasma as well. And the majority of the what they would call outer space would be plasma. Now, when we talk about the three states, yes.
Did you say fire is plasma?
Fire is a form of plasma as well.
That's
Devastating.
Yeah. So, if you notice, water parallels the states of matter. So if you say liquid, solid, and gas, you can say water, vapor, and ice. So what's the fourth phase of water that would be consistent with the fourth phase of matter? And that would be supercooled or structured water. Okay? And it's also known as easy. Easy stands for exclusion zone. Okay? So if you have a glass of water, I'll just grab this bottle right here for an example. Alright, so how many of y'all know that water is a battery?
Kind of really. Yeah.
Not kind of. It is the battery.
the best.
Like, yes, we live in a society, in a world that's heaven. Like, the only reason why it's hellish is because of how we decide to live. Everything we need is here. Okay, we would say something like, man, I wish gold just rained from the sky. I wish, I was kicking diamonds as I walked down the street, But we do, and it's called rain, and it's called rivers, and it's called ocean, because water has magical properties. In our body, water is our battery. How is water our battery? Well, this bottle is similar to our body in that it's a container, okay, and it holds water. Everywhere that water touches a surface, okay, it creates something called an exclusion zone. What is excluded? Well, what is water made up of? Say that again? Oxygen and hydrogen. How many hydrogens? Two. One oxygen. Okay, H2O. So when you look at an H2O molecule, it kind of looks like Mickey Mouse. Okay? The hydrogen ends represent a positive charge, and the oxygen end represents a negative charge. Okay? So when you're dealing with water or a substance being acidic or alkaline, what you're saying is the acidic portion has an abundance of hydrogen protons, which are rippled. Okay? And then when you talk about alkalinity, that's hydroxyls, which is an oxygen with a hydrogen together, which has a negative charge. So protons are positive, and that's acidic. Hydroxyls, OH negative, that's alkaline. That's your alkalinity scale, your acid base. Our blood, our body is mainly alkaline between 735, 745 is the window. Now when you have water sitting against the surface, it immediately starts to exclude all protons into the center of the container, while the area near the surface that it touches is predominantly going to be negatively charged. Why is that important? Well, how does the exclusion zone form? The exclusion zone forms due to infrared energy. 42 to 55% of sunlight is infrared energy. It's infrared energy around here right now. Okay? So as long as sunlight hits water, an exclusion zone forms, and now you have a high concentration of negative charge right next to a high concentration of positive charge. That's a battery. That's how batteries work. Now, how does it equate into energy in our body? Well, every protein that we have has a hydration cell of water around it. And the negative charge that is created in this hydration shell by way of the sun hitting the water causes an excess of electrons, which we use as energy. How are we electric? Why are we electric? What is electricity? Brother said electricity. The root word of that is electron. Electricity is the conduction of electrons down the current of electrons flowing. So what I'm saying is when sunlight hits water, it creates a surplus of electrons. Those electrons are then fed to our body, and our body uses those electrons in order for it to operate, which means we really don't have to eat. We don't. 2/3 of our energy comes from the sun, 1/3 is from food. We don't get enough sun and we eat a whole lot, so we flip it and we're always malnourished. But the sunlight provides anything and everything that we need as long as our bodies are working properly. Okay? All right, I'm not going to get into that because I don't have the time, but we were going to get into some stuff. Okay, so let me go to, yeah, our body is amazing. And I was going to like take y'all on a journey. All right, so we'll go. Let's see. All right, let's go to here because this is the point. All right, so a lot of people talk about Africa eats a whole lot of meat and blood, and that is a current state based on the condition that the continent is in. You can compare that to every other continent and also indigenous people. What they did is they decided to look at the mummies as opposed to looking at as opposed to just looking at their bones and their teeth. I believe they looked at their hair. Yeah, human hair. Okay, so they looked at their hair and they looked at the bones and teeth, because the bones and teeth and the hair are the things that stay preserved. So somebody was eating a certain way. Okay, you are what you eat. It goes into your system. And there's isotopes and half-lives that exist in carbon, so you can do studies and trace things back to see what people ate. And when they studied the teeth and the hair of the people of Kemet, of the people of Africa, they found out that they predominantly ate C3 plants, which is the average fruit and vegetable. Okay, you got C3 and you got C4. C4 is like purslane, a lot of cacti, which would be very popular out here in San Antonio. What makes a C3 and a C4 plant different? A C4 plant, because it's like a cactus, what is the main thing that a cactus does? Conserve water. Why does it conserve water?
The environment.
Environment's dry, so it's taking all the water away. So normally leaves have mouths on the bottom of their leaf, called stroma. They're open and closed, okay, so that they can breathe. Well, if they do that during the day, a lot of the water will escape. So what they do is they hold their breath all day, and they breathe at night, okay? But there's no sun at night, so you can't do photosynthesis at night. So they breathe in the carbon dioxide at night, convert it into malate, store it in the form of malic acid. During the day when the sun comes out, convert the malic acid back to the carbon, and then they convert it into sugar in the natural cycle. So that's the difference between the C3 plant and the C4 plant. What they were saying is these people, our people, were eating mainly C3 plants. And then they were like, oh, they were about it now. They ate a lot of fish. They even searched for the fish. The fish wasn't even in there. Okay? So the people of antiquity understood how important it was to be on a plant-based diet. And you see it on the walls when you see people offering stuff. Like they offering flowers and they offering plants and stuff. You don't see them offering like a rack of lamb at Osiris or something like that. You know, so this was one paper that I had provided, but this is why it's called the vegan gene. This paper is called The Positive Selection on a Regulatory Insertion Deletion, Polymorphism, and Fads to Influence Apparent Endogenous Synthesis of Arachidonic Acid. Yeah, that makes anybody not want to read it, obviously, right? Like, what's going on? In so many words, what they're saying is that they found a particular gene sequence on a chromosome that allows the production of an enzyme that would allow an individual to take basic omega-3 fatty acids and convert it into a very complex omega-3 that we need inside our body called DHA. Has anybody heard of DHA? Got one? No. Okay. We need to know about this. Dolphins brain is about 2/3 the size bigger than us. And the difference between us and dolphins is their DHA content is through the roof. The one thing that leaps us through evolution from a physiological standpoint is the amount of DHA that we incorporate inside our body. When omega-3 levels are low in our diet or ratios are off, we are not able to get a consistent amount of omega-3s in, and we're not able to get enough DHA in, so our brain suffers. Why does our brain suffer? Because DHA is what makes up the rods and the cones of our eyes. Do you know that your eyes are clocks? Did you know that? And the best way to understand that is this. When someone is sitting in front of a television and there's a show on, you say that they're what television? They're watching television. What is this called? A watch. Because sight is time. Why is sight time? Because the only reason I can see any of y'all is because of light. Now there's artificial light right now, but it's usually sunlight that comes in our eyes, and based on the intensity of the light, whether it's the morning light, the afternoon light, or the evening light, that light goes through our eyes, through our retina, through our suprachiasmatic nucleus, inside our brain, biological clock that tells our hormones when to function, when to secrete, what to do. But if we're looking at the screen of a phone at 2 o'clock in the morning and it has the same intensity as the sun at noon, now I'm telling my body that it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon at 3 in the morning. And I can't get no sleep, and I got insomnia. You see? So these mismatches, this is called a circadian mismatch because circadian rhythm is night and day. When we don't get our sunlight in, when we don't have enough DHA, which represents the membranes around all these discs inside the cone, which represents color, and the rod, which represents peripheral vision, shadow, black and white, then we start dropping our electricity and our charge in our body and the integrity of our sight or our watch, our time. We wonder why time's speeding up. Time's speeding up based on interpretation because of how technology has integrated within the natural order of things. You see? Or else, you know, we have the capability of slowing time back down. All right, so this right here shows that, and this is the problem that I have. Let's see. Okay, so paleoanthropologist Brianna Hovener with the Smithsonian's Natural Museum of Natural History, she says, meat eating that we do or that our ancestors did even back to the earliest time we were eating meat is culturally mediated. Okay? You need, which means culture comes after agriculture. Okay? Agriculture is the first culture. You need some kind of processing technology in order to eat meat. And there's an amazing amount of social diversity in the way that meat is used, cooked, and eaten in the modern world. So I don't necessarily think we are hardwired to eat meat, but it's an important part of our evolutionary history. Hilary Maywell of National Geographic says some early humans may have started eating meat as a way to survive within their own ecological niche. So what are they saying? They're both saying that consuming flesh was something adopted, meaning that we didn't start off doing it. Now, if we didn't start off doing that, then that's what makes this paper very powerful, but even how it's worded can be misleading because they call it an insertion deletion. Now, what is an insertion deletion? Let's go here. Okay, so we all know what chromosomes are. Okay, chromosomes is a bunch of DNA folded in a real like geometrical shape, right? We pull the chromosome apart where it just has DNA. If we take a section of DNA, that's a gene. If we transcribe that gene and we take an enzyme that copy it, there's portions of the gene we don't need, we cut those off. Okay? We cut the exons off, we put the introns together like you editing a paragraph that you're turning into a paper, and that final paper that you hand in would be the final gene that then will become protein synthesis, okay? Now, I would have spent a lot more time on this, but I'm trying to like cram it all together. Indel means insertion deletion, which means on a chromosome, there are genes that are sometimes active and sometimes inactive, okay? So that's why it's called insert deletion, saying that it was something that the body developed, and under certain circumstances, sometimes it's not expressed. Insertion deletion. The problem that I have with that is the fact that if we start out being a vegan, then this particular gene can't be inserted later. It's something that was already there. What you're saying is this is something that was turned off, deletion, and now it can be activated based on environmental circumstance. So what they noticed was all throughout the world, there's a gene that a majority of the population of the planet has, representing orange. I'm sorry about the, let's see, can I move this? So, there. All right. If you, for some reason, they didn't have the U.S. Pie chart on this one too, but the U.S. pie chart was similar to the South American pie chart. But if you notice, even with Africa, as much blood meat you think Africa eats, look how many people have this gene. Even up there in Norway, South India is really going off. Asia, you know, they didn't do any tests here in Australia. That's why there's nothing there. But these all have this particular gene, okay? And what does this gene do, essentially? You know, that's what we need to talk about. All right, the name of the gene is RS666-98963, which in the Bible is also called what? Mark of the Beast. The beast, like panther, etymologically means all beasts. Pan means all, and then theos is like deity, it means all beasts. So when you say 666, you're really talking about carbon. You're talking about a carbon footprint. There's 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. It doesn't represent any demonic force or anything like that. I just find it ironic that this is what they named it, 666-98963, and when you add it up, it still comes out to 666 even with the other numbers. Now, what am I saying here? Imagine you and your neighbor have to be at work at the same time, and y'all have to share a driveway. Okay? That means you probably want to get up a little earlier than him every day so that you could beat him getting out the driveway, else y'all both going to be fighting to pull out, right? Now, when I was talking about omega-3s and omega-6s, they share the same pathway, meaning that when you take an omega-3, such as linoleic acid, okay, LA, what ends up happening is it can be elongated into arachidonic acid, which is a more complex omega-3 that your body uses for certain things. But like I said, we overdo it on omega-6s. Omega-3s become DHA and EPA, which we use to evolve our brain, which we use to saturate the membranes of our cells so we don't suffer from inflammation, which we do to avoid heart conditions and mental disorders. DHA is the main culprit in all of that, but because our omega-6s is so saturated because we have so much of them, we're constantly using this pathway to specifically satisfy omega-6, and we hardly have any omega-3s. So what that gene does is it provides the necessary enzyme that if we do consume a decent amount of omega-3, we have the proper enzyme to convert that omega-3 ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, into DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, which is a very specific and meticulous process. But because we have the enzyme now, we can do it. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is we have a vegan gene that has been dormant based on our societal adaptations of consuming flesh. But as you revert back to being more in a healthy lifestyle, you will ignite and activate that gene again, which will start transcribing the enzyme, which will convert your omega-3s to DHA again, so you can start hitting that next stage of evolution beyond where we are right now. Okay, so in the liver, omega-3 PUFAs, okay, ALA and the N6-PUFA-LNA can be desaturated, which involves the addition of a double bond, and then elongated to become a longer chain. Of note, the enzyme is considered to be the rate-limiting step. So the enzyme that this gene codes for is a rate-limiting step that represents time. That is how much of something you can make. That's like if you work for a job, they pay you a certain amount, they give you a certain amount of hours, that's a rate limiting step. You know you only gonna make $400 a week, so many weeks out the year, you got but so much money you can save. But say you got another job, and at this job you get all the overtime you want. Matter of fact, you got room to move up in the company and get paid more. Well, guess what? That rate limiting step doesn't exist anymore. Now you can make more money in less amount of time. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about something that allows you to create more in shorter periods of time that you didn't have before, or whether that was dormant. So I try to compare this to X-Men. You know, we know they're mutants. They hit puberty, they get in a stressful situation, all of a sudden they shoot lasers out their eye, they climb up a wall or walk through a wall, right? Okay. We also have dormant genes in our body. This is one of them. And I'm focused on this one mainly because it connects to DHA, and DHA is something we really need. Most people get it with fish oil. I'm not with that. And then if you get other sources like flaxseed, chia seed, stuff like that, the problem is the ratio. So it might have a lot of omega-3s, but it might also have a lot of omega-6s. But that led me on to my next research, which was, okay, how do I get the right ratio? How do I find this plant source of ALA that we can assimilate and we can get inside our system? Well, I found a study that these scientists in Norway did on Nepalese mothers, where they went to study them and was like, we know their DH level is going to be ridiculous, you know, it's going to be subpar because there's no marine life, there's no ocean, there's no water, they're not fishing, they ain't getting no DHA, so their numbers should be down. Well, they studied these women and it was that opposite. They was through the roof and they couldn't understand why. And the conclusion of the paper, apparently it is possible to have a satisfactory level of marine fatty acids in your body without eating fish. That's what I was looking for. You know, I couldn't find it anywhere. And they pretty much were saying that they couldn't find out what it was. So I had to look and look and look and look and look and look. And that's when I found out about perilla oil. World's best kept secret, greatest supply of alpha-linolenic acid inside of an oil. It's about 70% omega-3 ALA, and its ratio is 6 to 1. Omega-3 6, omega-3 6, and then omega-6 1. So it's like insane amount. So you take a little bit of this every single day, you're getting all of your omega-3s in. All right, so this is a paper, a study right there. So yeah, 54 to 64%, the omega-6 linolenic component is usually around 14%, and the omega-9 is in there too. So the ideal ratio is 4 to 1, omega-6 to omega-3. Flax is 3 to 1, omega-6 to omega-3. Chia is 3.3 to 1, omega-6 to omega-3, but perilla is 6 to 1, omega-3 to omega-6. So you see how much it's just beyond everything else it's sat next to it. All right, so yeah, that was part of something else. So that's pretty much what the vegan gene stands for. That's why it's called the vegan gene, because we actually have a vegan gene. This vegan gene calls for FADS1. FADS1 stands for fatty acid desaturase. Okay? Because you got saturated and unsaturated, and that deals with whether there's a double bond or a single bond, you know, but it's fatty acid desaturase 1. And what that does is it allows you to use your omega-3 pathway more often, more efficiently, especially if you're consuming a good amount of omega-3s in your diet. Okay. One form of omega-3 y'all can find down here, I know grows wild all throughout the streets, is purslane. It's a wild, it's like a wild spinach. Now that's a C4 plant, but it has a great amount of omega-3s in there. But I had to kind of like speed through to the end and cram a bunch of stuff together to kind of get to the point. But this is pretty much the end of the presentation, and I know we're running out of time. I want to make sure I have some time for Q&A for questions that people might have, so I'm not just talking the whole time. So I'll open up the floor to anybody who might have some questions to ask.
Like ancestry that was strictly against me, like vegan, but still like against the meat, like they never.
That stayed vegan. South Indians.
Oh yeah, they don't like cows.
Yeah, South Indian, but they still do like butter, paneer sometimes. But if you notice, you see how much orange is in their field. So, but you'll find tribes all over the world that have stayed consistent. You know, it's just that through the media it doesn't look that way because you know who's behind the media. Anybody else? Yes.
I know Dr. Sadie was against taking vitamins. Can you talk a little bit about how we're supposed to get adequate B12 and all others?
Oh yeah. So vitamins is just a fancy way of saying inactive hormones. Inactive. Okay. The reason why he wasn't with vitamins that you could get like a GNC and stuff like that, because they were usually synthesized in the lab or harbored through fungi and bacteria, and he wasn't with that. B12 levels can be raised through chlorella. Chlorella is a green algae that contains just a ridiculous amount of B12 in it. That's all the tube of chlorella is. The inactive hormones become active in our body when we put them inside our body. You know, it gets combined with other elements, and then it becomes an active hormone that our body uses. If y'all go on YouTube to my site, do I even have my thing up here? Let's see. If y'all go to my site, and I'll pull it up. One second. And y'all go to YouTube, put in KT the Artistry. I've been doing a lot of videos lately, and a lot of this stuff I'm talking about, I got good 30-minute breakdowns on a lot of this stuff, so you could know. But this is my contact information, Instagram and YouTube, Kamani Tate on Facebook, and then that's the email address right there. Y'all can reach me if y'all got any further questions. Any other questions from the people? Anybody?
This is kind of unrelated to health.
Oh.
Can I ask you, what's your favorite memory with Dr. Sadie?
Favorite memory with Dr. Sadie would have to be when I was like probably 6 or 7. He gave me and his actual biological son shrooms. That has to be my best memory. I gotta be honest. That was my second time he gave me shrooms, though. He gave me shrooms as a baby because I was constipated with soy. My mom was really on this soy trip, and she was giving me a lot of soy because we, wasn't eating no meat no more. My mom, she converted. and the soy had me all clogged up. Man, he gave me the shrooms, and then this white ball came out of it, like a baseball, and it was just all soy. It was crazy. That was the first time he gave it to me. Second time I was a little older to actually remember the experience. So yeah, that has to be my craziest experience with him. He gave them to me, and what I saw was spiders. Not big menacing spiders that were going to kill me and wet me up and drink my blood. But I saw spiders coming out the ground, going up the wall to the ceiling and escaping. And when I got older, I kind of recognized that was the magnetic field. So I equated spiders to magnetic field. And then when I got older, I found out that it was. Because when you look at the magnetic field of the earth, it's shaped just like a spider. And then Anansi, the spider, who represents the guy who was able to get all the Inyame stories, those stories represented the magnetic field of the Akashic record. So it was an amazing experience. I didn't know what it was as a kid, and I was just shocked that I had to freak out. You know, there was thousands of spiders everywhere. But I was calm, and it just was what it was. And as I got older, I got a fixation with Spider-Man because of that. And it led me down another road. But that would have to be one of my greatest experiences. I know there's better ones that I could have used. That's the one I like. Hey man, I had shrooms at 5. It's maybe. Anybody else?
Okay, one more. Can you talk about mitochondria?
Oh God.
Oh, I heard that you talked a little bit about that.
How much time we got is the question. I don't know, man. Mitochondria, that's my heart right there. Like, that's what I love talking about the most. And
well, before you get into that, I have a question. Do you know what the ratio is between the omega 6 and omega 3s and what did you call it? Yeah, for it's 6 to 1.
6 to 1. 6 omega 3 though.
Right. Okay.
So it's flipped.
No, purslane. But you said
Oh, the
there's
purslane. I'm not sure what the ratio of purslane is, but purslane is definitely a wild herb that Sabi proposed all the time.
Okay.
He put his list out. He didn't get into all the omega 3s, vitamins, and all the stuff that was in it. But as I did research and got older, I found out what. Like even kamuk. Kamuk has omega 3s. Their content is very high, which is a grain. You know, and he put that down.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's see. You said mitochondria. Talk a little bit about it. And what capacity? It's like I said, I could
Kevin
spend.
had told me that you had said, you know, when mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And just kind of wondered, like, more about that.
Well,
You gonna be coming back to San Antonio?
And you gotta do is decode it too. You gotta decode it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
all right. So what I was saying was, all right. What I was saying was that men are viruses and women are bacteria. And when I make that statement, I get a lot of weird looks in the audience, especially when I start off saying that women are bacteria. But then when I say men are viruses, and they're like, I'm good. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And the reason why I say that is because when you think of a virus and how it operates and survives, the virus has to penetrate a bacteria, inseminate the bacteria, and utilize the bacteria's DNA and its inner workings in order to reproduce the virus, and the virus can't reproduce on its own. That's kind of like what men do with women, right? Mitochondria can only be passed down matrilinearly from mother to daughter, mother to son, and it only is passed down from the mother. So the mitochondria represents the woman, while the actual cell that the mitochondria is in represents the male. So most illnesses people think are based on the genome that's in the nucleus of your cell, but it's based on the genome and the conditions of the mitochondria, which in turn, if it is not getting taken care of properly, it raises hell in the cell, and then the cell raises hell in the body. So it's kind of like a household that has a mother and a father. If mom ain't happy, then she gonna get on daddy, and then nobody's happy in the house. You see, so the daddy got to do work in order to take care of mama, and then when she's good, everything else starts working out. So if you want to take care of your health, the best thing you can walk away with today, other than the ratios of omega-6s and omega-3s, is to take care of your mitochondria first, and everything else will be taken care of in proxy.
We're gonna have to pause it there. I know there's infinite amounts.
Oh no, I'm done. That's why I kind of summed it up into that right there.
Hopefully you can still talk with KT a little bit. Please give it up for KT.